Fantasy adventures, tales of legendary heroes, wizards casting epic spells, warriors battling monsters, and worlds tearing on the edge of destruction. You've seen it before, right? Whether it's in Dungeons and Dragons, favorites of mine like Harmon Quest, Log Horizon, or even Goblin Slayer. These stories follow a familiar blueprint: a grand quest, an ultimate battle, and then, well, the end. You wrap it up with the triumphant finale and the sense of closure, and the heroes are standing tall in the face of victory. But what if the real story doesn't begin until after the grand battle? What if the true journey starts after the epic part is over? This is where Frieren Beyond Journey's End steps in and completely flips the script on everything that we thought we knew about fantasy adventure. It explores the world after the curtain falls, after the journeys has end, and it might just leave you more emotionally impacted than any high-stakes adventurer ever could. So buckle up, because this is a deeply emotional and an unexpectedly relative ride. Let's talk about Frieren. Frieren Beyond Journey's End was first introduced as a manga in April of 2020, and from the very beginning it stood out. Written by Kanehito Yamada, with stunning art by Tsukasa Abe. This series quickly captivated readers with its unique premise, but Yamada's journey to the success wasn't overnight. This manga is really her breakout work, but it's already cemented her place as a key creator of modern day fantasy storytelling. The manga, which focuses on what happens after the grand adventure ends, was unlike anything else in this genre at this time. The anime adaptation, produced by the legendary Madhouse studio, premiered it in September 2023. Now, Madhouse is no stranger to greatness though. They have Death Note, One Punch Man Season 1. They've consistently delivered top tier animation, and this series is no exception. The anime has about 28 episodes, and each one feels carefully crafted to bring this emotional, reflective journey to life. Madhouse doesn't just animate action, no, they animate emotions. In most fantasy anime, the focus is on the adventure itself, the fighting, the magic, the final boss. Frieren, however, takes a bold step into the uncharted territory. It focuses on what happens after the hero's adventure is over. And I know I've said that many times in this video already, but it's just really interesting to me. Our main character, Frieren, is an elven mage who, alongside her companions, defeated the Demon King. That should be the end of the story, right? But it's not. For Frieren, time moves differently. What might be 10 years to her companions is like a blink of the eye, like a week to her immortal life span. The series kicks off with Frieren reflecting on her journey, looking back at that relationship she had with her companions. What really hits home though is the realization that in the grand scheme of things, those moments were fleeting. Her human companions, now long gone, left an undeniable impact on her, and even though she's never quite understood their bond during their travels, now she has to pick up the slack and actually start and help the next generation, and so they can take on, and as she lives on and sees that. I'm going to give the plot a 2.4 out of 3. This isn't your typical fantasy action plot. Instead, it's about the weight of time, the relationships we form, and the realization that the best moments often slip through our fingers before we even know that we should have cherished them. That's the emotional core of the story of Frieren's personal growth. Now, world building in most fantasy anime is about grand kingdoms, mystical realms, and ancient civilizations. Frieren takes a different approach, a bit. The world building here isn't about fleshing out intricate political systems or magic laws. It's about showing us how time has affected the world and the people in it. Frieren's past adventures ripples through the world in subtle ways. She meets people who are impacted by the legend of her party's action, and when she sees the long-lasting effects of those heroic deeds, and even decades later, towns, myths, and entire cultures are shaped by the events of the past. The way the show gradually reveals the layers of history makes this world feel lived in. It's not all about the grand settings or world altering quests. It's about the personal histories, the ripple effects of past actions, and how even the smaller moments matter in the long run. I'm going to give it a 2 as far as the world building. That's not to say that the world building is perfect. It has some parts that could be more explored, especially the deeper aspect of magic and the different regions of the world. But what Frieren does so well is making its world feel organic. Everything builds on the characters' relationships and the lessons learned through those interactions. Let's talk about the heart of the show, the meat and potatoes, some people would say. The character development, particularly of Frieren herself. When we first meet her, Frieren is emotionally distant, detached even. Her elven lifespan makes her view time differently from mortals. To her, the short lives of her human companions just don't seem to matter all that much to her. But as she witnesses the lasting impact of her companions' lives, she begins to realize how wrong she was about the importance of fleeting moments. Watching Frieren evolve from this emotionally closed-off character to someone who cherishes the time she has with others is what makes this show so special. It's not just about flashy character arcs and dramatic speeches. It's about subtle, understated growth. And then there's the new generation of characters. Fern, the young mage Frieren takes under her wing, and Stark, the earnest warrior. Watching their growth as they learn from Frieren and carry the legacies of the previous generation's heroes is an emotional journey in its own right. Frieren also does an incredible job with its side characters, especially how it weaves their past into the larger narrative. I'm going to give the character development a 3 out of 3. The emotional weight of their action, their story, their relationships with Frieren makes every moment feel earned. It's a slow burn, but it's one that's deeply rewarding. One thing Frieren nails is its animation. Thanks to Madhouse, of course, now this isn't Demon Slayer level action where every frame could be a work of art. But that's exactly the point. Frieren doesn't need to have the most jaw-dropping battle sequences because it knows exactly when to slow down and focus on the emotional beats. The action sequences are smooth, with just enough intensity to keep you on the edge of your seat. But it's the quieter moments that shine. The humor is spot on, especially in how Frieren's dry, deadpan humor contrasts with the world around her. Her moments of comic relief, whether it's her casual dismissal of danger around her or oblivionist of how other people perceive her, are perfectly captured in the animation. On the emotional side, the animation truly brings Frieren's internal journey to life. The way she reacts to old memories or when she finally lets her guard down is so well conveyed in the expressions by subtle body language. I'm going to give it a 2.2 out of 3. The balance between lightheartedness and the depth that it brings makes the animations work so well together. Frieren has some of the best pacing I've seen in a fantasy anime. Each episode feels deliberate. There's never a moment that feels like it's a filler. and the show always finds ways to tie back to the main themes. Whether it's character development or emotional growth, the transitions between past and present, memories and reality are handled so smoothly. So I never feel jarred out of the experience. The pacing keeps you invested in every moment, whether it's a battle or a heart-to-heart conversation or a reflection on the past. For these reasons right here is why I'm going to give it a bonus 0.2 on the score, because in modern anime pacing is something that often gets overlooked, but here it's practically flawless. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, is a rare gem in the fantasy genre. It's a series that combines beautiful animation, deep character development, and an emotional rich plot to give us a story that's about more than just the end of a journey. It's about what happens when the adventure is over and life continues. It's about cherishing the moments, learning from the past, and realizing that the bonds we formed are often the most important part of our lives. With the final score of 9.8 out of 12, Frieren stands out as an anime that transcends the usual fantasy tropes and offers something deeper, something real. Whether you're a fan of the traditional fantasy or you're just looking for a more introspective take on the genre, this series is absolutely worth your time. If you enjoyed this review, please hit that like button. This really helps the channel and it gets it right into the face of people who really would love to watch this. And if you know someone that would really love to watch this, why don't you just share that to them? And please make sure you are following/subscribe, depend on where you're watching this from, and hit that notification bell so you can know exactly right there, right when I post. So, and I like to reward people who be the first to comments, first 5 comments. I like to reward those people. So you find out by being one of those people, okay? All right. And if you like my videos so much, won't you check out my first ever live action adaptation review on Bet, the anime, the live action that is based off the anime Kakaguri. You just go ahead and check that out. You won't be disappointed, okay? See you later.